rapid pace. I'm sure.
Sorry, just doing that before I forget.
Yeah.
Just trying to find the right thing, and it is a very disorienting experience. To
Have you watched him play the Atari 2600's ET or Raiders of the Lost Ark?
No, I haven't had the pleasure.
Oh, you have to show him that sometime.
Yeah, there's a reason why I play a lot of video games, dude. My brain is like anyway. And
Hello.
that's part of why I'm hey Luke, this is Chuck.
Hi, Luke.
What's up, Chuck?
That's Chuck.
Don't worry, I'm not like Mark. I'm dense and slow.
Yes, we can work with you. Let's just getting the what do you call it, reviews ready for later.
Okay. I guess we just go a 10 and a 1 for this one because it's kind of in the middle, right?
There are not. I don't think there are 10s.
I found a 10 and a 1. I found a 10 and a 1.
Oh, good.
Okay. My iPad's across the room because it's charging, but yeah, I got it. It's ready to go. If I go to the other
I'm not
side
that
of the
fast
room.
after all.
Well, I did that before recording because the iPad's over there. I'm so fast.
I was planning to quote the reviews on the archive.org page anyway.
Okay. Yeah, sure. We can do that.
So before we start, did you guys I learned this after the fact.
Didn't see the Canadian thing, no. I saw the Hong Kong cut. Is that your question? I assume that's your question.
Yeah, that was the question.
Luke, how about you? Any Canada?
I saw it in Chinese in like with subtitles, so I'm guessing I saw the Hong Kong cut.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the guy was a regular guy and then he flashed back to ancient China, right?
No, I didn't see the isekai version.
Okay, cool.
I felt no need to watch that one once because I read about it like kind of in between. Like I watched the first half one night, second night, and I read that in between. I'm like, gee, I don't care.
That sounds like it would ruin it, really.
Doesn't sound like it would add much anyway.
Luke, I guess you get the ball in the air.
In at number 0 on the shit list, it's the Hollywood studio system. But nothing bad has ever happened in Hong Kong or China.
No, they don't have triads.
Yes.
Yeah, the triads are the worst of the problems in Hong Kong and China that I was referring to.
We're on the 70s. I'm thinking kung fu movies. Kung fu movies have triads.
83. I mean, this was definitely made under duress, but we don't have to think about that too much.
I mean, what is the Hong Kong film scene now? I feel like I don't. I mean, maybe I'm just not paying attention, but
I may be incorrect on this, but I believe that mainland China has taken such a stranglehold on it that they just don't allow anything magical in any of the films. So everything's like a historical piece or crime film.
Well, my history had always been like very straight kung fu movies. This is my first time watching anything that fantastical. Unless you count like Big Trouble in Little China, which I don't think counts.
Well, this directly influenced that, according to John Carpenter, so it's good reference.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Does it have some of the? Sorry, I guess we should do introductions. Really quick, Matt.
They don't even know what movie you're talking about.
Luke,
that's right.
Mark,
we're waiting. Yes, it's Films and Filth. Mark, the guest is next to you.
Chuck Porterfield's here with us. Say hi, Chuck.
Hello. My name is Chuck Porterfield, and I do not follow directions well since you said to say hi.
That's good. You'll fit in perfectly here.
All right.
Okay. Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain, not Zoo Warriors from 2001, which I watched 30 minutes of and wondered why the hell Mark wanted to do this movie.
Same. I didn't watch 30 minutes, but I watched a couple minutes. But this seems dry.
that may have been when mainland China had taken control of stuff. Who knows?
So if you are watching this on YouTube, you're not. This is warning. You're not watching this on YouTube. Archive.com, sure. YouTube, no.
Well,
org. Archive.org.
Hopefully nobody watched the wrong thing.
Anyway, in my just scanning over the wiki page to respond to a few minutes ago, did this have some of the same effects people? Because it said they had American effects crews collaborating on this movie.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because I don't have a lot of notes regarding this movie, but I do have notes on that. So the visual effects supervisor on this movie was Robert Blaylock, who was one of the co-founders of Industrial Light and Magic. And if you were to watch the, I think, Shout Factory Blu-ray, it has an interview with the visual effects consultant, Peter Curon, who was also a member of ILM. And from what I gather, Chow Hawk, the director of this, wanted to get American expertise in on designing the visual effects. One, because it would create notoriety overseas, but much like how Peter Jackson worked to make lower budget movies to build up Weta so that he could, dominate the New Zealand film industry, Chow Hawk wanted to do something similar, at least be able to build up his own effects studio. So yeah, he got some Americans to assist him on this. The effects were designed by Hong Kong folks, but the actual execution and the optical printing was guided by Americans.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I hope that helps your comedy podcast. This is, because boy, wasn't that fun.
That
It doesn't
very
all have
answered
to
my
be fun.
question.
Okay.
No,
People are here to
this is
learn.
not a fun. There's nothing fun about this movie. It's very
Okay.
serious.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, this is definitely not the most fun movie that we've watched. Arguably the second most. I don't know.
Wait, I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not anymore.
I am being sarcastic.
What's number one fun?
I was saying Shin Godzilla might be more fun than this, but that's
I love Shin Godzilla with all my heart. I don't know if fun is ever the word I would use.
I guess that's true. I just
Like,
immediately
Mercy
go to,
damn near had a panic attack watching that film.
yeah, I
So
do have
you-
a dark sense of fun.
I
I
Singing
love
in
it
the
when
rain.
the Prime Minister explodes.
I was
okay.
besides watching the wrong version of this for a bit, I also had to do some research, which actually ended by me opening up my DVD case, and I guess it's the what is this type of movie called? You guys watched the
Wuxia?
how to yes, thank you. Okay, you guys watched the how to say it videos with the director's name and stuff, where I didn't have time for that shit. So
I literally, it was a song that I sent you by Sparks, because Shawak is friends with Sparks and they put him on a song.
oh yeah, you
He
could have
put one
said-
of their songs on at the end
Okay.
of Double Team with Dennis Rodman, which he also directed.
Okay, well, if you had said Spark song, I would have lit up a little more, but you didn't. So
Yeah,
I
no,
swear
you
it
said,
said
here's
Sparks
the
in the
director
link.
explaining how to say his name. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
that sounds boring, and you're going to say it before me anyway, so I'll just copy you.
that's exactly. I didn't even have the
Oh.
copy thought. I was just like the director. He's the director. Well, now you're not going to catch me because it's funnier that way. But
Well, the song just has him going, "I'm Shawak. I'm a film director. I make films." It's
Oh.
just like with a techno beat behind it.
see, I
It's-
was
it's sketchy.
expecting like that time Louis Buñuel teaches you to make a martini, which was useful but dry,
Yeah.
both in documentary form and the martini. So,
Well, Sparks is all about defying your expectations.
anyway, I guess it's because it's the other film I saw in that genre, which I already forgot how to pronounce again. Which
Wuxia.
Jet Li's 1992. I know the title I know is The Kung Fu Cult Master, spelled Colt on my DVD.
Oh, cool. I mean, who knows? There's definitely some crossover here. I mean, Shawak did produce Black Mask, which is a pretty well known. That's more of a grounded movie by Jet Li, but
Well, now that I've watched this one, I'm like, oh, the Kung Fu Cult Master is straight up just ripping this off, including a guy who rolls around on a rock. So
and
or
there's
that's
a lot of this.
Chinese-
There's thrilling bloody sword. Yeah, a lot of these magic exploding, sparkly things.
My favorite kung fu movie, I have no clue what the name of it is because it was on the Wu-Tang collection. I watched it and then I tried to show it to Maddie and it was like gone and I forgot the title. So I'll never find it again. But it was even more ridiculous where like people just in the middle of conversations start every scene, it's like 15 seconds of dialogue. Somewhere mid-sentence, they just start sword fighting for 5 minutes. Then it cuts to a completely different setting with completely different people, 15 seconds of dialogue, 5-minute sword fight. So that was wonderful.
That's what I'm into, basically.
So I gotta ask. First off, I think I presume you guys have links and the name of the movie and everything on this, but When I first mentioned this to somebody, I said the movie is called Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain. They didn't think it was ZU. They thought it was ZOO. And so they thought it maybe was an animated movie about like a bunch of ass kicking animals.
Like a Kung Fu Panda type deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So we should clarify it's makes less sense than a lot of fighting animals. It's fighting spirits, demons, and wizards.
Red Army soldiers.
Yeah.
I feel like you're almost. It's like you're all doing it deliberately when you keep saying Zoo Warriors. It's like Zoo Warriors from Magic Mountain.
Right. But then the
when
one
you
we
say
watched a little bit of the
Zoo
wrong
Warriors.
one is Zoo Warriors.
Yeah.
I thought it was
It's like,
X you and Mark
are
first
we-
said it, which is cooler.
Like, are we Atlanta Warriors? Or are we Atlanta Warriors from
From the Stone
city.
Mountain.
from the yeah,
You are Atlanta Warriors, but the film about you is Atlanta Warriors from the racist city.
yeah, okay.
So
Also, gonna throw it out there before we go too far from it. Kung Fu Panda, pretty good.
yeah.
I'm gonna beef.
A racist city, not the only one. Let's not.
Oh yeah, that's a
sell
good
the
point.
United States
Fair.
short. We have plenty of racist cities here.
It's our biggest export.
And hey, Luke, didn't you say the English invented racism?
Yeah. Everything
It's their
wrong with
biggest
America
export.
you got from us.
Yeah, it's true. We're unoriginal and racist.
2 cents. Anyway, Mark, out of all of the Hong Kong insanity, what's the one that put this one over as the choice for a September generation?
September generation.
It's September when we're putting out this episode.
Oh, well, it was just Chuck had me over to watch this because we'd watched a couple of other Shao Hawk movies that were more of his historical things, and I was just like, "This is the best movie I've ever seen." And then I fell asleep and had to go, so I had to go back and rewatch it because there's something about everyone had to leave. Chuck started the movie like kind of right when it got dark, and usually people don't. I don't know what it is. It lulled everyone.
Well, there was, we hadn't seen each other in a while, so there was like a half an hour of gabbing and yakking and glad handing and back patting and general friendliness, which is fine. But when you're like me and you're
Doesn't sound
programming
like
movies,
it's fine.
you want I want my fucking movie to start. I mean, humans are great and all, but movies are eternal. And so, let them. They had to get that shit out of the way. Anyway,
Stop your circle
I-
jerking and
I-
watch the
yeah.
Warriors.
yeah,
I honestly think something about it is so like it hits a certain frequency that it really did sort of like weirdly make everyone have to leave, which makes me like it more.
yeah. The only people that lasted throughout the whole film was my friends Bob and Kaylee, and Bob speaks Mandarin and some Cantonese. So for him, this was like, he was so delighted to get to see a movie at somebody's house where they had the subtitles on, and he could quietly judge the accuracy of the translations. And then, of course, my wife had to stay up because she's like, I don't want to leave Chuck outside by himself.
So how are the translations?
They seem to be quite good. He was very pleased with it.
Oh, really?
This-
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very new release that we were watching, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, there's a new Blu-ray, newish.
Also, if it was made with like some American production and stuff, I assume they bothered to do the translation properly.
Yeah,
It's not like it was bought up after the fact and just they slapped any old translation on it, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of Stephen Chow movies that are absolute half-ass because they didn't think any American people would watch it. There's one where he keeps saying "I want to suicide" over and over. A lot of just ridiculous.
Get in line, pal.
But,
Isn't that a My Chemical Romance song or something?
maybe.
I think also it as far as translations go, it benefits from the fact that since it is a fantasy film, and honestly, I consider I think of it more as a fantasy than a kung fu movie, which we could talk about later. But because of that, it means that there's sort of like a formal language usage. It's everybody is, when they're speaking, they're not speaking in any kind of colloquial slang or anything like that. So probably makes it easier to be more accurate in a translation.
Yeah, I think I do find this fantasy more appealing than like Western style fantasy, for maybe partly because of that, because that doesn't come through when I'm watching it because I don't know formal Chinese, and also this is just so colorful and whack, and there's lots of firecrackers. So I don't know.
I think part of it, a big part of what makes it more appealing is that in this fantasy, people are all really mean to each other, which helps keep you engaged, because I think maybe Western fantasy has a little bit too much of a tendency to be like, wow, what's that? And then someone's like, come this way. And it's just sort of go
This
from
one's
point
like
A
I
to point
hate you
B.
because you exist, and then they shoot like fireballs at you.
Well,
So.
think of Alice in Wonderland. That's a timeless classic, and everybody is just trying to kill everyone else the entire time.
Mm.
So
Wizard of
I mean,
Oz
if we're
too,
talking
really.
fantasy of this period, then yeah, it pisses all over anything the West was doing.
Yeah.
so I wrote. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, the I this may shock you, but I have not read the book series that this films are that this film is based on. I said films because they're actually your Zoo Warriors, which you mentioned later. Plus, there was a couple of television series that all stem that all like derive from this mythology. Um, I can kind of compare that, I guess, in a way to Tolkien, except in this case, I think this is so non-linear because of its vastness that they were able to just kind of like pick and choose which parts of it they wanted to focus on. But in a way, it's also kind of like uh like if you were to just randomly watch an Avengers movie and have not seen any of the other films before, you might be a little confused as to who the characters were. But I feel like this movie, even though we're like being dropped in the middle of a world that we don't understand, um, and even though people are kind of dicks to each other, you still have a pretty clear idea of what the overall story is. I think there's plot points that are confusing as fuck, but I think the overall narrative of the movie makes perfect sense.
I
Yeah.
did write several times my notes though. Glad I'm not writing the summary. I think I wrote that about 3 times. So Mark.
Okay. Disclaimer. This may not be entirely accurate because I had nothing to plagiarize it from.
Right.
Di Ming Qi is caught up in an endless series of violent conflicts between warriors wearing different colored outfits. When his own blue army basically turns on him for no reason, he ends up teaming up with Chang Mei, a guy from the Red Army, since it turns out that they're basically neighbors. Together, they manage to survive attacks from several other colors, but Di Ming Qi gets away while Chang Mei is left behind. Then Di Ming Qi ends up inside a cave where he's attacked by evil spirits and then saved by a powerful monk named Ding Yin. He begs Ding Yin to help him save the world from endless war or to let him be his disciple, but Ding is not having it. Meanwhile, another monk who Ding also does not like, Zhao Ru, shows up with his disciple Yi Zhen. The 4 of them end up in a conflict with the blood demon, who ends up copying Ding Yin's visage and poisoning Zhao Ru. Their master, Longbrows, shows up and says he can hold the blood demon at bay, but they need to quest to find the green and purple swords to stop the blood demon. Along the way, they stop at a fort where a countess is able to cure Zhao Ru, and Di Ming Qi and Yi Zhen are basically promoted. But soon Ding Yin is possessed, and the entire place is frozen with Ding Yin and Zhao Ru trapped inside. Di Ming Qi and Yi Zhen continue their quest and find Heaven's Blade, a man who chained himself to a boulder to block evil from entering our realm. He directs them to Li Qi Yi, who gives them the 2 swords. They're told that the swords are most powerful when combined, but they must never be combined unless their minds are in perfect unison. They finally face off against the blood demon, manage to destroy him with help from Longbrows and the Countess. All wars are over and all men are at peace.
That's a happy ending. Yeah, that didn't make any sense, and I watched the movie. Okay.
Yeah, that's the short version, though.
That all tracks. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're just racist.
I'm looking at your text here. I guess I'm kind of like looking at it. I think it's important to point out that from from the name Deming Key at the very beginning all the way to the word among, which is about half of that paragraph, is technically one like 35-minute scene. The movie has like a
Yeah.
kind of like a prelude at the beginning where you get to see some miniatures of mountains, and after that it is a like a long ass chase scene that never really lets up, and you don't really get a chance to breathe until like a third of the way through the film.
Well, possibly controversial. I could have watched a whole movie of just the wacky color army guys.
Yeah, I was assuming that's what the film was going to be, and I was like, oh, this is going to be like a comedic romp.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it was
then it
still
went eight
funny, but that
different
was like
ways.
that was more of the Monty Python political satire thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I think I should. The only thing I think you got wrong, I think only one of the two masters is a monk.
You could be right.
His master was just like a warrior, because they called the other
Yeah.
one monk all the time, and made fun of him for being vegetarian.
What if you call two people monks? It starts getting confusing.
Yeah, he's
I guess Ding was trying to kind of hook up with the Countess, which a monk wouldn't do, right?
Oh yeah. He was laying on the moves pretty thick.
Yeah, too bad about both of them being dead. But anyway.
I also have a note
Sure,
here.
that doesn't stop you and Zoo.
Yeah, why not?
I did not watch Rise of Skywalker again, but I did I listened to people watching it right on a podcast who they didn't like it.
Wait, you listened to a podcast where people were watching it on the podcast?
Yeah, so I didn't have to watch it again, right?
Okay. Weird.
So I was like, I sent you guys my one fix after doing that. I was like, at the end, there's a post-credit scene where Palpatine is still alive and cackles over the studio logo. So that's one fix. The other one is just take this script, change the names, and make this the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Sure. There's so much you can do with Star Wars. You can make 25 kung fu movies out of Star Wars. They almost did in Rogue One, but not enough.
But I guess that is to say, that multicolored whack energy you get in the newer ones. You wouldn't get them so much in the originals, of course, but
something that kind of ruined
changed.
kind of even further ruined Phantom Menace for me was that I recently saw a video that analyzes that, you always think that there's the cool lightsaber battle at the end, and analyzes how everyone in that lightsaber battle is just like not intentionally not hitting each other.
My dad pointed that out to me like 20 years ago, and we've always made fun of that. Are you talking about the one with like the robot voice?
Yes, exactly.
Where it's like the safety video, like never swing your lightsaber directly at your opponent.
Exactly.
Duck anyway, just in case.
It's so funny.
Those things probably bounce, but my point is kind of that movie was kind of incoherent. This movie's pretty incoherent. I mean, in a way, like there, I guess there is a narrative thrust, like Chuck was saying that you can follow.
You guys keep saying it's incoherent. I don't think it was that incoherent. They're like, you got to go get these swords, and then they got distracted at the first place they found that had chicks.
Yeah. The pacing was just weird because sort of the main dramatic stuff kind of was crammed into 20 minutes at the end, and you spend a lot of time at the fort with the chicks, which is fine. I mean, it's a kung fu movie, and also the fun like color coded war guys.
Maybe we should get back to the is it a kung fu movie, because it doesn't really add up. It's it is. A lot of the wire work even is just people flying around, but not kung fu.
No, there are enough scenes of kung fu.
Okay, yeah.
Well, but are there? I mean, there's the opening battles between the warriors where they're sword fighting, which is, if you're being generous, a form of kind of like a focus part of kung fu. But after that, any combat going on after that is more like blasting lasers from your sword, or it turning into giant winding fan that can go flying around and blasting apart red light ravens and
I
stuff,
guess because I hadn't seen much fantasy version, like I've only seen very grounded kung fu movies. What this really reminded me of was anime.
Yeah, there's a lot of like sort of
in a very Dragon Ball way.
Yeah.
At the start of the film, they're just fighting with swords, but before you know it, everyone's shooting beams and doing magic attacks. And
has
flying
anyone
around.
here Have any of you seen Super Inframan?
No.
Yet.
It's like a Shaw Brothers collab with Toho. Toho, is that that's the right studio? That's the Godzilla one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it basically is like a kung fu kaiju movie,
Okay.
which I may bring to this podcast someday.
I'm
because
intrigued.
it is amazing. But yeah, there's cross pollination there. And I'd say that I've seen a lot more like wacky, like problematic comedy kung fu movies from sort of after this. But I do love the fantasy stuff because it's just batshit. Like
Well, I
it's
mean,
just sort of like
I primarily
always-
see myself as a Jackie Chan guy, so it's more
yeah.
his kind of comedy and criminals and whatnot.
I mean, he just how far Jackie Chan takes it makes his movies batshit sort of by default. I would say
He does.
I
He
mean,
does touch on fantasy occasionally.
Yeah, for
Did that
sure.
one with Jet Li.
He
He made Fantasy Mission Force,
I mean,
and-
yeah, let's just
which is not really anyway. Sorry,
there's no. I mean,
I'll see myself out.
Jackie. Then you draw a direct line from Jackie Chan to like the wacky Jet Li movies and the Stephen Chow stuff. I mean, have you guys seen Jet Li's like comedy work?
A long time ago, probably with
Yeah.
you or something.
I probably
I
made
think
you
I
watch
have.
it. Yeah,
I
a lot of
can't
it is
imagine
really
it.
funny. Like,
Oh,
it's
okay.
crazy because it's weird that he ended up like this super badass heavy guy when he came to Hollywood because he at times was just absolutely hysterical.
I know.
Well, it might
year
be
in
in the
China-
same way that Jackie Chan was such a comedian because he didn't want to be Bruce Lee. Maybe
Yeah.
Jet Li was very serious because he didn't want to be Jackie Chan.
But
That makes
in
sense.
Last
He also has
Hero
that
in
look,
China,
right?
he fights in a chicken costume at the end.
Yeah, the chicken versus the centipede.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's one of my favorite
Amazing.
movie fights.
Didn't you show me that one where he was like taking orders from a glowing ball in the forest or something?
I think that might be the Kung Fu Caught Master one I was telling you about.
Yeah, whatever that was it was amazing.
Which at the time we thought was played like Dragon Ball the movie, just like you were saying. And I even wonder if it was like another take on the book, mostly because I remember the dude rolling around on like old man rolling around on a ball was also in that, which could just be a cultural thing. I don't know, like how we get like trolls or something and frozen.
Well, we get old men with staffs. They get old men rolling around on bulls.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask y'all, from a cinematic standpoint, do you see, as I do, a relationship? I mentioned Peter Jackson earlier, and part of that is because when I think of the early films of Peter Jackson, I have to feel that he is heavily influenced by this movie, not necessarily by the content as much as he's really big fan of using fisheye lens, and a lot of the way he cuts his movies seemed really in line with this movie. Lots of kind of extreme close-ups, which he never really got tired of doing that. He's always have like creatures like jumping towards the camera. But I'm wondering, do you think that is sort of an eastern part of the world, like a 90s kind of an aesthetic? Am I out of my fucking mind here on this? Or
I guess I would put that on the Feebles, Brain Dead and Dead Alive, but probably nothing. I'm thinking about the Frighteners. By that point, I would probably say no.
Frighteners is Hollywood as hell. You got to
Yeah.
go before that, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
right down to the spotty CGI, which may have aged well. I just doubt it has.
and Lord of the Rings doing fantasy, and I infamously have only been halfway through. I've only done one of the two towers. I haven't done both of the towers, so
Wow.
I could be missing something, but I don't feel like it applies to that. But thinking, especially Feebles and Dead Alive, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see that.
The way I see it is that Fellowship of the Ring had a lot more horror in it, and it sort of seemed to shake off the horror as it went. And I have no idea if that was intentional, but it may have been intentional.
He was shaking it off like Taylor. Yeah.
I have never seen a Peter Jackson film from before the Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh boy.
You should definitely watch Dead Alive.
Yeah, I mean, put it on this podcast and I will. I'm not going to go and watch it on my own time.
If you like
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2, you'll enjoy Dead Alive because it's basically just a hyper amped up version of that.
But
Mm.
do look for the Brain Dead cut, which is the New Zealand cut, which is a little bit longer. And it is fucking bonkers. He also unrelated. He made a mockumentary. I think it's 50 minutes long, called Forgotten Silver. Which, if you since you guys are clearly into film, you'd get a big kick out of Forgotten Silver, because the whole conceit of it is he's just discovered this early New Zealand filmmaker pioneer who pioneered everything, tracking shots, color, sound, and it's just filled with all kinds of film history jokes. Just like this movie, Zoo, Warriors from the Magic Mountain, I first saw it at Cinefest Film Theater at Georgia State University.
That is where I saw Dead Alive. And the trip.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we both saw Dead Alive at the same time there.
that may
maybe
be the case.
Maybe the
Were
trip
you
was-
holding entrails?
No, we took Marta there. I remember that.
Okay.
That's all I remember. There
It's-
probably
it's
were some
faster.
entrails there.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
smarter.
hoping to go to a movie
Smarter.
with Lauren Robett. Anyway, never mind.
Mhm.
Go watch.
I
These
guess
are all
it's-
excellent recommendations, guys, but I'm just going to watch King Kong again instead.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that Luke isn't really that into film. He's just
Okay.
gonna watch
Yeah,
King Kong.
that's
again.
kind of the point of this podcast, is like, we're
Yeah.
doing the top 100 films on IMDb because I haven't seen any of them.
Which King Kong are you watching?
I mean, any of them, but in this case, I guess Peter Jackson.
Okay.
So you don't really hold anything against Peter Jackson's King Kong. That's the sort of
No, I
controversial.
fucking love that film. Matt's always
Alright.
like, "Oh, it's long." I'm like, "No, make it longer. I want more King Kong."
Oh, Chuck and I have mutuals who absolutely despise it. I maintain that the only problem is that the first hour is too long and Jack Black is miscast, and that I do think
I think Jack
Andy
Black is
Serkis-
great, and I think the first hour establishes the setting, which didn't need establishing in the original because it was just when it was made.
Fair enough, but I also think Andy Serkis should have won an Oscar for it.
Yeah,
Like, that was the main attraction for me.
I do
He's
think
so good.
I mean, Zoo Warriors belongs in the conversation about the most batshit movies ever made. I think, right?
Yeah.
Where do you
yeah.
want to rank it? I mean, what's can we
Number
think of one more
355.
on the batshit
1,000.
list?
I don't know what.
No,
what
it-
I mean, what is that list? Like, you can't just say a list, invoke a list, and then.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just
what
like-
Give me a minute
Where
here.
is it? Is it top 100? Maybe, I don't know.
Of batshit movies. We're talking batshit.
Sure.
only,
I
not
really don't
comedy.
think it's that batshit, Matt. I think it's just like culturally not what you're used to.
But
Like,
the guy's
I think it
floating with
tracked. Everything
firecrackers
tracked.
for like
The
10
pace,
minutes.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
because he's
pacing
possessed
is
by a
weird.
demon.
Yeah,
Fucking he's-
the pacing
his
is
head-
weird, but I knew,
If
I
his
could
head
tell what was
rotated and he
happening.
vomited, you wouldn't bat an eyelid.
But I do think, even within the context of Hong Kong cinema, this was considered, as was all of the new wave, the Hong Kong new wave filmmakers, and particularly Chow Hawk. This was a huge departure from what had previously been experienced. Now, if you look at kung fu movies, there was oftentimes elements of magic or sorcery sometimes involved in them, but none of them amped up the use of sorcery and special effects to this degree, which is part of why it was like such a recognized movie. It wasn't a huge success in Hong Kong when it came out financially, but it was a huge critical success and won all kinds of awards because they just hadn't seen anything like it. Now, whether that means the movie is batshit crazy or not, I don't know. But I mean, I think that I think any movie that really like breaks the norm, maybe that I don't know what you guys are calling batshit crazy.
Well, I was about to say
Uh-huh.
it's kind of like my tripometer thing from the Twilight Zone. For me, they're flashing, colorful lights at me the entire time.
Uh-huh.
So to me, that's batshit. Luke, I think you're thinking more story wise, which
Yeah.
maybe that's not. I mean, that is just kind of a standard fantasy quest, right? So maybe that's
Mhm.
not the batshit part. But
Well,
yeah, I guess
this
I'm
is the
talking
thing.
visually.
I feel like there's a certain level of quality, like kung fu movies usually do not look expensive, but there's a certain level of craftsmanship with like the camera work and the editing, and I guess generally the script execution that is in generally just a cut above what we would get in the West almost ever, just because these guys were making like 30 movies a year. Like everyone, like who knows who exactly worked on this, but there's usually just sort of a workmanship with these that's just, you know, part of why it works with just crazy flying around stuff is everything is perfectly executed. You never feel like you see somebody fly up and then you don't see where they land, which is itself more than we would get from a Marvel film now.
And there were a few sets as well where I was like, "Holy shit!" They had to build that, you know, because now we get what's the big virtual reality boxes they use for mats now?
The format or something, is that what it is?
That's that Mandalorian kind of made popular, right? And it's in all
called
the Marvel films and stuff. That thing, okay.
It's called The Thing.
The volume. It's called
The volume. You're
Yeah,
right.
sorry.
Okay. I almost had it.
Because these sets had some volume, and you know, I'm trying to check out what's a matte painting too, because I was just rewatching Aliens recently, and you realize in the hangar, if you know to look for it, they're standing in front of the world's most obvious matte painting ever. Like you could literally be like, "Oh, I see where this is just the wall in a studio, and they put some boxes there, and they're sitting there, and it looks, and yeah, if you pay any attention to the film craft, you're like, oh my, that's definitely a matte painting." But I never noticed till the most recent viewing, so it works if you're not looking for it.
Yeah,
I had a thought, and then you went on for too long.
Whoops.
Regarding the sets, I'm every time I see this, I'm astonished by the Blood Demon's temple, and everything about that scene. Really, the first, like even to this day, like you know, when I see just those two glowing eyes start appearing, and then flying around, and then it's almost like glowing gems in rags, and they're some of the like spookiest, creepiest infernal forces I've ever seen. And you know, and you see them in levels. First it's just the eyes, but then eventually they start developing like full bodies, and it's a pretty intense, terrifying scene that really switches from the comedy to something pretty horrific, which I think would later serve Xiao Hawk well when he made a Chinese ghost story. But other horror movies following after that, like Mr. Vampire and all that stuff, I think really owes a lot of debt to this film.
Yeah, I did notice it became a completely red and black movie for like 3 straight minutes, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The designs and everything were all very unique. And you mentioned just now, like comparing it to like a Marvel action scene. And I think what I like about it, and what I want from superhero stuff, but it so rarely gives me, is like everyone's power was unique and looked different and worked different. And seeing them all interact with each other was fun. So like she's doing her move with the ribbons. He's doing the stuff where his sword flies around. The monk's doing the stuff with like, he's got all of his beads and whatnot. And then like some characters are shooting beams. Some characters are shooting birds. Some characters are using their eyebrows. It's like, that's what you want from like a good X-Men fight scene, right? Is this guy's power works this way, this guy's power works that way. How are they going to bounce off each other?
Yeah, I was about to say for comic book movies.
Exactly. And you want your X-Men movie to have like less than 10 X-Men, and that's basically what this is. It's a relatively small cast, which makes it easier to follow everything.
But not as few as 3. That was just weird.
What 3? X-Men 3?
The first X-Men movie only has 3 X-Men basically, and then Rogue kind of like, you know, bundles up with them, which 3
That's fine. That was a good movie.
It was okay.
You didn't think it was good?
2 had a proper amount of X-Men. They had like 5 or 6. That's the perfect number.
2 is a big jump from 1, I think.
I think 2 is better than 1, but I still think 1 is better than 3 or what, 12, 13. I don't whatever.
So I don't know if
best X-Men movie is Deadpool 2.
I actually kind of co-sign that, or Logan, one of those.
Oh, come on, Deadpool 2 over Logan. It's more fun.
But Logan is so, I mean, I know it's super on the nose that everybody's like, it's an R-rated movie, so everybody's like, fuck you, Logan, you piece of shit. But and then he just tears people's faces off. But I loved it. It was so
I didn't see
amazing.
Logan until I heard everyone on Earth tell me it was the best film ever made.
Yeah.
So by the time I watched it, I was like, oh, it was fine.
Yeah.
That's
It's
pretty
not,
much the page
it's
I
not
was on as well.
spectacular. It's not spectacular, but I just thought it was a fun way to do. If you're going to make a movie where the guy has claws that come out of his skin, then maybe let him just tear people's faces off
I guess
and
my
say
question
fuck
is,
all the time.
does anybody want to rewatch Logan?
Next question.
Okay, that's where
I'll
Deadpool 2
probably
gets
like
from.
watch it in the respect when Hugh Jackman finally passes away.
Yeah, or when they recast Wolverine as somebody terrible, and then you're like, oh no.
Daniel Radcliffe, that's who the chat's about at the moment.
Cool, make it. That
At least
can
he's
do it.
appropriate height.
He is. I stand Daniel Radcliffe. He can do whatever he wants.
That's why
I
he
don't-
won't do a Marvel film, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if this fits into the format of your show, but let me ask you guys. So
We have no format. Do what you want.
All right. So when the aforementioned evening in which Mark fell asleep on my carport, the way that worked is I had given a friend like a list of movies to choose from, and she selected one from that list. That way, it's sort of like a collaborative programming kind of thing. So that being said, who would you recommend this movie to, or what do you think would be the ideal setting for watching this movie? For if you have, for your listeners out there, how should they consume this?
This is definitely like I watched this alone on a bus. That was not the setting. This is definitely a film you watch with your friends. This is a party film, I think.
Yeah.
I think perfect one would be that this is playing in a dive bar that is called the Devil's Turf.
All right. That's pretty good.
So if any dive bar owners are listening,
Devil's Turf. If you don't if you don't want to put the devil in, then call it Shiver Me Timbers.
I don't think it's really going on anymore, but for a while, Grindhouse Burgers here in Atlanta would always show kung fu movies on their screen, so you could eat burgers and watch stuff like this.
But actually, I think a bar or a restaurant where you're kind of half paying attention to it might be the best milieu for, and it's got the subtitles on, so you can pay a little attention if you feel like it, right?
No, I think it's you've been for a night on the town and you've all just gotten back to someone's apartment, and this is the film you put on while you're winding down, and some of you fall asleep and one or two of you make it all the way through the film, but you're all giggling at it.
You're all on drugs.
And like as you're getting more and more sleepy, it's making less and less sense.
Yeah.
And then you take that 5-minute cat nap and you're just completely lost, right? Like, why is this even happening? That's always the fun feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone calls and you're barely awake, but you haven't slept, and you're convinced that it's actually like the whatever, the blood demon calling you.
So many tabs guy there. Where did this actually rate on the IMDb?
Oh, well, funny you would ask that. It rated at 6.6.
They should give it one more
6.66.
Yeah.
Just take it. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no second decimal, but we could, take it to 6.9. That's what I'm going to keep suggesting for everything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got the devil shit here though, the blood demon. So I wanted some Satan in it. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I guess
I was listening to like a podcast yesterday where they were reading bad 2-sentence horror stories. But one of them was one of the best things I've ever heard, where it was, the devil offered me eternal life in exchange for all my future children. He started sucking and didn't stop.
Yes, I agree. That's great.
Yeah, it's the monkey paw twist. Yeah.
Monkey's paw nipple. I don't know.
The monkey's nipple.
Monkey's nipple.
Monkeys have nipples, I think. I'm sure they do.
Yeah, they're probably just really tough.
Right. Okay. So 6.6. I mean, that's pretty well regarded for a genre film. That's not a bad genre film rating, I think.
I mean, I'm looking at
For a
Sherlock's other
user
films.
review rating for a foreign language film, that's really good.
Yeah, they're most of his films are around that or lower. I'm looking at see if anything jumps out. Double Team sits at 4.8.
I
Um,
don't think I ever saw that.
Zoo Warriors 2000. I didn't either. I kind of want to now.
My dad took me to see it in the theater.
Cool.
Yeah.
Was it good?
No,
Oh.
no, but
I've seen films called Double Team, but I think it was different.
Yeah. I mean, he may have directed that too, but it's not showing up on IMDb. I need to go to AMDB. What is it? AFDB. Well, you know, the movie he did 2 movies before this has a 7.4, and it's called Dangerous Encounters of the First Kind. And the summary says 3 lazy bones friends manufacture a firebomb and place it in a cinema. Pearl, a sadistic young girl, has observed the scene, follows the bombers, and starts to manipulate them. The 4 criminals plan more and more daring acts, which that sounds fantastic.
You say Lazy Bones?
Lazy bones.
yeah,
Okay. That's the weird. Just if they're taking enough initiative to plan a bomb in a cinema, that doesn't seem that lazy.
I mean, I'm looking at the
You have to do a
screen
lot
from
of
it. It looks like an
capering.
awesome exploitation 70s crime film. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna get around to this at some point.
Okay. Well, gee, while you're tabbing, did you say you did not see a 1 or a 10, or a 1?
I think I scrolled around and I think I found a 10, but not a. I found a 1 that didn't have any text.
Oh, okay. That's the biggest fuck you of all. I give you 1 and my silence. Okay.
I mean, there's a review that says 7 out of 10. It just says crazed chaos warriors, warning spoilers, and there's no text. Like I think
okay.
some people just fuck up and don't write anything, and they think they did.
They have a stroke at their computer, so they don't. But they fall on the enter key, so that goes. Well, I got some stuff here. I got
Well, there's a 1. I found a 1, but
confused, right?
yeah.
I guess I'll read it because I'm looking at it. Frankly, I'm
Go for it.
confused that this movie has such a high rating from other users. I am a huge fan of Hong Kong period action, fantasy, swordplay films, but I just couldn't get into this movie. I kept waiting for it to get better, but unfortunately, it just got worse. So much is said about the groundbreaking special effects, but I felt like I was watching a Saturday morning cartoon. On paper, this movie should have been great. With an produced by now I should learn how to say his name. Suhak.
Chow Hawk.
Shao
It's
Hawk.
like Shao. Think about when
Shao.
if you're eating with a bird. Chow Hawk.
Okay.
Shao Hawk.
I already forgot again. And an all-star cast. Too bad the plot was so silly bad. I would definitely recommend the movie Deadful Melody, aka Deadly Melody. Deadful Melody is a better title, isn't it? Over this one. Better fight scenes, better humor, colorful, well-played characters, and a plot that makes sense. That's a 6 out of 15 found it helpful. So I don't know. They gave it
I feel like that was much of a review.
Yeah, that wasn't actually like nonsense. Like they had some kind of point there.
And it was grammatically correct, which is not always the case with these.
and I will give them credit also for stating here is a movie that I think is preferential. If this is what you're into, here's a preferential thing. But also I don't understand in like a 1-star review for anything. I mean, that would have to be like 9 hours of like fuzz, right? Like that, and that would I would give that 1 star.
One of the big
even
problems with these websites, if a film has higher reviews, they get it in their head that they're like the arbiter of taste and they must correct the review scores. So then they'll give it a 1 to like try and adjust the average. Which is why I hate the public and I hate these websites.
I have a movie listed on the Internet Movie Database that I thought I think I gave a 7. And I thought, well, this is a really good movie. I'm going to give it a 7 because I'm well, not 10, but it's really good. I'll give my own movie a 7. And the lead actor in the film was very disheartened that I gave it anything other than a 10. But anyway,
you can give a gentleman 6. I give it a gentleman 6. That works,
Go
right?
6.
I mean, we know a lot of people who make movies, and the gamut of like how they react to the bad reviews is all different, and I think it's sort of like a personal thing, and you can't like judge people for it. But yeah, it's like people take it very differently depending on how they are. I don't know how else to say that. I know there's definitely people who are like, yeah, bring on the bad reviews. I don't care. And then there are people who are like, I can't look at them.
I mean, realistically, I'd probably say this one is a gentleman 6, right? It's not. I had a good time watching it. You might like it better than me. That's fine.
I mean,
It's interesting. 6 is good in this case. 6.6 seems reasonable as the actual. That's about where I am on this. One of my all-time favorite movies is The Trip, and saying here that's in my personal top 10. But I'm like, well, on an objective rating, it's probably like an 8.
yeah, I'd give The Trip a 6 probably, but it's like I totally understand that. But I'd also give this an 8, but it's like I'd give it an 8 because it's a mess. If it was like a little less messy, it might be a 10 for me. But that's fine because it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's just ambitious. I like ambition. And I also like the feeling of the idea of somebody's just taking a crazy play set of action figures and just kind of mashing them together, which is also nails.
I'm also noticing that's the first time any of us, and I'm not saying we should start doing this, but that's the first time any of us actually put a number rating on a film we reviewed on this podcast, like ourselves.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
No, I know
Let's
you're
not
not.
do
It's
that.
fine. I was just like, I was just trying to make a point by making my assessment there. But yeah, no, I don't think we should be putting numbers on it. Let the let the masses do that. We can make fun of the numbers they put on it.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah, and I have that. Sorry, go
from
ahead.
the archive.org page where I watched this video, there are 3 comments underneath it. Stoner Weird said on July 18th, 2022, hell yeah.
See, I was about to say
Max
Stoner
Bassett
Weird should have been the
in April 26, 2023 said badass. And then Robot Boy 76 on May 2nd, 2023 said, I concur with the sentiments of the 2 previous reviewers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Would you have liked this movie when you were 13?
Oh god, yeah.
Of course.
This is exactly what I'd have liked.
I think I would have liked it better. I think I would have liked it less when I was 13 than when I was, say, 18.
Probably same, but I still would have enjoyed it.
Yeah. Because
I'd have lost
not
my
a big
mind
fan.
if I watched it when I was like 8.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fantasy person when I was a kid. Like it always kind of made my brain kind of flicker off.
But that's just because the fantasy was bad when you were a kid.
I think it was just because I kind of had a tough childhood and it felt like maybe escapism was too painful or something. I don't know how to explain it. I liked grounded crime films.
No, that's it. A lot of the 80s fantasy was too on the nose about being escapism, right? It was like never-ending story stuff.
Yeah. It's like I did enjoy like Wizard of Oz, but secretly.
I did see Big Trouble when I was 8, and I guess I guess it's a little more American palette since it's John Carpenter, but I had that sort of reaction. We watched a whole lot in the late 80s.
I liked They Live better when I was a kid. I think I've reversed that now. Like I like Big Trouble more now, but
no, Big Trouble was my favorite Carpenter for quite a long time. So
yeah,
and Carpenter has even stated that he reached out to the makers of Zoo: Warriors from the Magic Mountain because he wanted to not only pay homage to the visuals and to the special effects. He asked how they how they would film the stunts that were performed in it, because he could tell that the execution of it was different than they would be done in Hollywood. And so he ended up getting a lot of Hong Kong stunt people to be involved in the rigging and everything here, just because he this is the kind of stuff you get when you watch those bonus features. Because what Mark was speaking to earlier is like when you see somebody jump, you see them land. And so they were very specific in the way that they constructed that they would do. That's oftentimes why each part of the movement would be so quickly edited, because it would be like, all right, we get this full spin here, and then they'll have to do another rig where they spin another direction. And so all of that has to be shot in a way that it, the whole thing makes sense. And so Carpenter wanted to emulate that whole technique as well. So this was clearly a movie that he was in absolute love with. And so I think it shows pretty heavy in Big Trouble.
I remember even a little later people talking about like John Woo action films in comparison to like the Arnie and Stallone stuff, where it's like Arnie and Stallone, they just shoot a gun wildly, and then you cut to some dudes dying, and you assume, well, I guess he shot those guys. Whereas John Woo, very specifically, any shot fired, you know who fired it or who, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe was a big difference between Hong Kong filmmaking and Western at the time.
Well, a couple weekends ago, weekends. Yeah, go ahead.
Another instance of these guys are making like 30 movies a year, so they probably had like insanely talented veteran like storyboard choreographer people that go on
you keep doing the same thing, and you just like dress it up in different design, right? But it's the same mechanics of your stunt or whatever.
I mean, mastery. It's not mastery is pretty good sometimes.
But I was gonna say 2 weekends ago, my in-laws were downstairs watching my in-laws were downstairs watching Last Action here, which I haven't seen for a really long time, and it was on the car chase scene when they're still in the movie world. And I was just like enraptured by that car chase scene. It was like I hadn't seen the movie for 20 years, and I was just like fully newly entertaining, and plays better now. I guess now that maybe culture's more ironic and it makes more sense now than it did in '93. I don't know.
I think that film was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it when it came out, but I rewatched True Lies recently, and I thought that aged kind of worse than I expected it to. I mean, it was still like a perfectly executed film, but it was weirdly awkward, and none of the secret agent stuff felt like it made sense.
Well, after you were out,
Schwarzenegger's never made sense as a secret agent because he's fucking huge.
Yeah, and also Tom Arnold was kind of bad. It was just sort of like a weirdly executed thing, and Jamie Lee Curtis was sort of like weirdly awkwardly hot. I don't know. It was a weird experience. But I also was on morphine, so I don't know.
Speaking of Jamie Lee Curtis and morphine, I watched Knives Out at the weekend with my girlfriend.
Nice.
And you remember I was talking about during Shin Godzilla, like how it's so fun that she like reacts to films.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't handle the tension of that film. Like he was so frustrated at the characters, so that like he was just like writhing around. At one point, she just lied completely supine and was like, "I'm not looking at the screen."
Oh man, because like I mentioned, I'm my mom loves watching like Murder, She Wrote and Columbo and Monk and stuff like that. So I was like, let's watch Glass Onion, which I hadn't watched. And I was like, she did a great job of following it. I was like, wow, I felt like that took it to another level. Like I thought Knives Out was a perfectly executed kind of conventional murder mystery, but then Glass Onion was like the actual like meta thing. I don't know.
This was only my second time watching Knives Out.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it. Obviously, Glass Onion is way more of a comedy.
Yeah, it is. And it's just way more of just kicking Elon Musk in the balls for 2 hours,
Yeah,
which
really obviously I'm very on board with.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to watch a film of literally that.
But it also might have been that just watching a bunch of Murder, She Wrote softened my brain up, and then putting that into my brain was like just delicious protein-rich food. But I don't know.
Murder, She Wrote has a little cameo in Knives Out as well.
Oh, really? Yeah. I expected it to break my mom's brain, but she did pretty well with it. So
nice.
That was cool.
My cousin was in an episode of Murder, She Wrote. I think she got stabbed by Angela Lansbury or something.
Wait, what? Angela Lansbury doesn't stab.
She commits all the murders. Why do you think that town has so many murders?
Is that the big reveal at the series finale that I missed?
Yes.
It is pretty insane that this murder novelist constantly is just at murders, right? And that's really crazy. Like, what if, I mean, I know Stephen King was I don't know, killed like a guy with his car once, but like, imagine if Stephen King was just at the scene of like 300 murders.
Yeah, they discover that Jessica Fletcher is a collector, and she's got just like bags full of molars. That's what she's like. Oh, they're not gonna notice I'm pulling out their molars, and so anyway,
It's all the books the pages are made of ground up molars.
yeah.
We have a show in the
yeah.
UK called Midsummer Murders, where it's about like a little small town UK town, but it's like at this point there's been more murders than the population should be of that town.
Well, it's a necropolis then. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the movie Midsummer. Like nobody really gets out of that one either.
Apparently, like in Sweden, that film is considered like a hilarious comedy.
I mean, that part with like the sex scene is pretty funny. They're all like,
I'll throw the flashlight on Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain if anyone has any final points on that one, since we've gone.
Well, Colon Warriors from the
wildly.
Magic Mountain is like an educational film about health.
I mean, I bet you I could find, I mean, I guarantee you I could find a movie where someone fights with their intestines. Actually, yeah, Ricky O Story of Ricky.
Yeah.
There
But
we
also,
go.
there's a bit of that in Reanimator.
That is true. That's the very close cousin to Story of Ricky. You guys have seen that, right?
Like when I was 18, probably with you.
Yeah.
This is my first time hearing of that.
Do you remember, did you get the Daily Show in England?
Yeah.
You remember where there was that thing where it was like the 5 questions and there was just a guy who like smashed a guy's head with his hands and it exploded into meat?
No.
It was just like they used that for like a segment. But anyway, maybe I'll bring that to the podcast. That's pretty great.
I mean, it doesn't look like this strike's ending anytime soon, so we're gonna have lots of chance to bring weird non-studio films to the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like weird that we just grant ourselves this indulgence and then it's just going to be this endless chocolate fountain of fun movies.
I'm gonna be disappointed when I have to go back and like, oh great, 1986 Oscar winner, boring.
Well, there's always the whatever, the good list or the bad list when it's good.
Yeah.
I think I have a boring movie brewing up for November.
Damn it. Is it going to be boring November?
Why?
Boring November. Everything in November is boring.
Why would you choose a boring movie, Matthew?
Time for a Terrence Malick.
Yeah, 3 hours of Terrence Malick. Okay. Well,
Hey guys, this has been super fun. I want to thank you very much for inviting me to be along.
Oh, thanks
Thanks
for
for
coming.
joining us, Chuck.
You
right
got any
on.
plugs?
Yeah.
Oh wait, is this a film or a filth? This is a film, right?
Oh, this is film. This is what film should
yeah,
be.
Yeah.
sure. This is
Hell
film.
yeah. Just had to
It's a
say
Hong
it
Kong-
because
it's a Hong Kong film.
someone might yell at us on X
Film.
if we don't do the thing.
I don't
No,
think
they'll
they
be
will.
paying, they'll be paying to
They're
do it.
paying for
They're
it.
paying for the honor.
That's what they get.
I can't wait for him to make X paid just so that I absolutely 100% will leave.
I'm like weirdly concerned that I have like 7 accounts there that it's going to do something like that. I accidentally put some payment information on one of them. I have to like go through and delete all of them, which is a stupid concern. But
That
I've
actually blew my-
accidentally paid for stuff before. I think I accidentally paid for Super Instagram at one point.
That blew my daughter's mind when she saw my phone this weekend. Just because I never updated it. So
Oh,
like, oh my God, you still have Twitter on your phone.
you can have it forever.
Yeah, I'm changing it. I thought I changed my iPad because that automatically updates. But yeah.
The URLs are still all twitter.com/.
Yeah, he's not paying anybody to actually change the text.
Well, he's
of
not
the
paying
URLs.
anybody to do any work at his companies.
He's not paying rent.
But you do need to work 24-hour days.
Because yeah, you're the only one left. God,
Yeah,
I hope
surely
he dies
that
in
will
a
pay
fire
off.
soon.
Oh yeah, was Chuck gonna
Like
plug
slowly,
something?
not quickly.
Chuck, do you have any plugs?
No.
No
Yeah, I mean,
plugs.
what, September? I don't know. Maybe I'll be back working in the film industry, but I won't be. I'll be still washing towels at the gym and delivering cookies and that's there. So there you go. Here's my plug. This is more of a public service announcement. If you get any kind of food delivery to your home, you know what? Tip. I'm just gonna put that out there. If you can't afford to tip, don't get the fucking food. I got mouths to feed. And mine being one of the three.
I agree with that sentiment. Unfortunately, there's a psyop going on right now where things like convenience stores are adding tips. So now the conversation online is that tipping is out of control. So we really need to stop working for tips as soon as we possibly can, because
I
not
think
good.
your whole country's entire economy is insane.
You're correct.
In the UK, it's illegal to include tips as part of the payment because they're meant to be tips.
Yeah, we're just hanging on until the film industry gives us jobs where we're way overpaid to do nothing, which is the other
I am
side
not,
of the insanity.
I am not overpaid.
Okay, sorry. Well, I'm overpaid to do nothing. Chuck is paid correctly to do what he does.
There we go. And we're not tipping it on Japan.
Anyway, go out, join your local communist party, stock up on weapons, prepare for the revolution. That's our advice for this week.
Yep, load up on guns, bring your friends.
Which is pretty universal American value right there. I don't care what side you're on, but god damn it, you better be armed.
Well, yeah, you can't really put that genie back in the bottle, can you? Now I'm depressed.
England and Australia did. It's just you guys.
Maybe I should just go to Australia. They'd like
In
me.
both England and Australia, they had one school shooting, and now there's like no guns.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of Australian films lately.
Tim Tams are delicious.
No guns in zoo. Warriors from the Magic Mountain.
That's true.
No,
No bloodshed, really.
well, kind
There's
of.
a blood god.
Yeah, there's blood. I remember there being blood. It was just sort of like everywhere. There's a lot
For
of
being
foam.
blood, all I'm saying is for blood demons, it doesn't look like Dead Alive. Back to that. Anyway,
That's
hey,
true.
thank y'all. I'm gonna go watch some wrestling.
Nice. I'm gonna go train for when I become a wrestler.
Hell
Okay.
yeah. You hope you get to wrestle Elon Musk and then he'll back out of it, and then you just catch him in an alley somewhere and just suplex him into a trash can. I'm just
Hell
writing
yeah.
this fan fiction as I go. Anyway. If you liked this podcast, or if you didn't, check out our other podcasts at patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. There's a few bucks for server bills. We really appreciate it. We got video game podcasts. We got other TV podcasts. We have Space 1999 podcast called Podcast 1999. Does Hyrule Field Report still going? You guys only have like 300 more areas to go, probably.
Oh yeah. That is a slow burn.
I kind of wish I'd played the game slower, to be honest. I crammed it. But
And give the show a 5-star review.
yeah, that rate and review, please.
Just tell your
Later.
friends. Tell your friends is the best thing you can do.
Yeah, that too. Make them listen, and then take their phone and follow it on their phone.
Hide your grandparents' Bible and teach your kids about Satan.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
See you guys inside the Magic
Oh my
Mountain.
god, my finger's been on the stop record button for 5 minutes now.